Browns finishing up preparations for their home finale against the Dolphins on Sunday. But let's start here. Myles Garrett spoke today, and of course, his comments from last Friday still very much a topic of discussion. Mary Kay, he said that it did prompt some discussions with some folks in the front office, but this is the story that I think is going to just keep on giving with Myles Garrett.
Right. Instead of waiting until after the season, which is when Myles expected to have this conversation, he was approached by a member of the front office who wanted to kind of see where his head was at with everything. So he did have sort of, I would call it maybe a preliminary discussion. There will be more after the season, but there was a little bit of a meeting of the minds.
Yeah, and Ashley, look, not surprising. When your best player, your second most expensive player on your roster comes out and makes those sort of comments, you've got to be proactive. You've got to make sure that he's in a good place. You can't just sit around and wait until January or February to talk to him.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have been comfortable doing that with the way Myles Garrett sounded on Friday, the way he sounded after that game against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. But two, for us, this is going to be the story that keeps on giving because it's the big story on a team right now that's 3-12 that has 2 games left. So Myles Garrett's future, I think, is just kind of a main focus for just about everybody right now because of where the season has gone.
Now let's talk a little bit about this upcoming football game, and we'll start with the kicker. Dustin Hopkins, even though the Browns did add Andre Schmidt to their practice squad, Dustin Hopkins is going to handle the kicking this week. So Mary Kay, after a miss last week, it's still going to be Dustin this week against the Dolphins.
Yes, it is, and I was a little bit surprised by that because, once again, he missed that lone extra point attempt, and then they brought in Andre during the week off the practice squad. When they did that the week before, during the Kansas City week, they did go ahead and start Riley Patterson in that game. So I thought they would kind of do the same thing, but they're going to let Dustin kick in the Browns' home finale and see if he can't get back on track.
And Ashley, we had a chance to talk to Andre. This guy's got a very interesting backstory. But the bottom line is the Browns, for their future, getting Dustin Hopkins right is the best outcome. I don't know if 2 games is going to be enough to say, hey, we're good. But at least getting him going, getting him in the right direction in games is going to be the best outcome for them long term.
I agree with you, but like Mary Kay, I was surprised just because of how Dustin Hopkins was talking last week in Cincinnati after he missed that kick. He called it a catch-22 that there are 2 games left. He even said basically that he can't wait for the end of the season just because of how the team has done and because of his own struggles. So I'm kind of surprised, actually, that they didn't just say we're going to shut him down and see if he can get right ahead of next year. But that's where we're at, and Kevin said he's kicking, so I think that's kind of all what we're assuming right now.
And, of course, the news we were all waiting for this week, David Njoku, Cedric Tillman. Unfortunately for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he will not have either of those players. Both ruled out. David Njoku with a knee injury, Cedric Tillman with that concussion. He will miss his 4th game now due to that. So Mary Kay, Dorian, as he tries to sort of bounce back in his 2nd start in a row, is not going to have 2 key weapons.
No, he won't. And I think that might end up making for a bit of a long afternoon against the number 8th ranked pass defense. We know that he struggled some against the 27th ranked pass defense of the Bengals, threw 2 picks in the 4th quarter. He's got to stay pick free. He's got to go to Jerry Jeudy a little bit more. And then he's also going to have to look for tight end Jordan Akins, rely a little bit more on Elijah Moore, Michael Woods. So he's just going to have to spread that ball around.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, Ashley. This is obviously a more difficult defense, as Mary Kay mentioned, than what he faced last week. And, of course, we know that David Njoku got so many targets as that safety valve a week ago.
It is, and I think those 2 are your 2 really contested catch guys who you can rely on in that area of the game. Obviously, Dorian and Ced have known each other since high school. They were high school teammates, so I think there's a natural chemistry there. And, receivers coach Chad O'Shea talked today about how Ced had been building before this concussion that's now going to end up costing him at least these 5 games. We'll see, I guess, if he plays in Baltimore in the season finale. But unfortunate for him, too, I think, just for this to happen from an individual development standpoint.
Okay, we'll cover everything that happens in that Dolphins game on Sunday and beyond, including this whole Myles Garrett saga at cleveland.com/Browns.